All right. Hello, health heads. Welcome and thank you for checking into this dose of the Healthcare Uprising. I am your producer, Jeremy Carr, here with your host, Heather Pierce. And I'm really looking forward to this one. But what's on our agenda for today, Heather?
Yeah, this is actually, we're having our first nurse on the show. We have with us today Nurse Meg, who was a bedside nurse in a hospital, and then over COVID started seeing a need for providing education and curriculum and things of that nature to nurses so that we wouldn't lose a whole generation of nurses.
Giving them the training they suddenly weren't getting anymore.
Yeah, because COVID changed everything. And so next thing you know, she's got this really amazing presence and reputation and all of these services online. So she's coming on not to talk so much about that, but to really talk about and elevate the role of the nurse in patient care and why we should all really, really care that nurses do make up about 95% of what we receive, primarily in the hospital. But yeah, so really interesting, fun episode too.
Yeah, and the first time on the Uprising I can ever say that I am a fan of the guest we're about to talk to.
Yeah.
So yeah, without further ado, here is our conversation with Nurse Meg.
Hi, and welcome to the Healthcare Uprising. Today we have with us Nurse Meg, who is going to talk to us all about the work that she does in supporting nurses through education and training, but also the very important role of nurses in patients' lives. So, Nurse Meg, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, you've got quite a following online. So, you've already got a really big fan base out there. So tell us a little bit about kind of how all of that came to be, how Nurse Meg and that, your kind of online,
My
I guess,
partner,
identity. Yep.
right. I mean, it was totally by accident, to be honest. I became a nurse because my dad was a nurse, and that was kind of just, followed in his footsteps, and he made healthcare and anatomy and physiology just so familiar and easy. I was like, that's what I want to do. So then I did it. I did it for probably a decade or so, and then right around, let's say COVID time ish, like 2019, 2020, I had already kind of been in like training new nurses and tutoring a little bit for the NCLEX. But as soon as all the scariness of 2020 hit, I saw so many things happen. A lot of my friends who had been nurses for a decade or more, they were leaving bedside. They were like, I don't want to deal with this. This is awful. So they would either retire, leave, go do something else with their life, go do something not you know, the bedside like Juvederm injections or Botox. And then there were all these influx of new nurses coming in. They were not getting the proper 8 weeks, 12 weeks of training. They were kind of, we were just desperate. And I was like, oh, I see this entire generation leaving. This
Mm.
is not sustainable. So I decided to like make a TikTok. That was what everybody was doing in 2020 was making a TikTok. So I made a TikTok channel and I decided to just start sharing what I share with my new grads. This is how you start an IV. This is the trick on how to get the NG tube right. Here's how to do a Foley. This is exactly the angle to go to get zero out the A line. This is how you give good report. All those little things that I would teach from my experience. And it started to kind of just grow. And then I was like, oh, let me start sharing more things. Let me make a website. Let me make, the Instagram and, you have to go to all the platforms.
Right.
So I went to all the platforms and did the website and then really started to delve into the changes that were coming for the NCLEX, the licensure exam, and
Okay.
created the online course that exists now. And it just kind of like blew up and grew. And it was almost like this snowball effect that it was like out of my control. It was just kind of things would pop up and happen. And okay, I guess that's the next thing I'm going to do. And it started off as a passion project to not lose an entire generation of nurses into, oh, wait, this is what I do for a living. And I really, really love it. So that's
Well,
kind of how Nurse Meg RN came to be. And that's where I am now.
That's so cool.
it shows how much that niche needed to be filled.
Yeah.
But if that many people are reacting like that, it was obviously a much needed thing. So that's really cool.
Yeah, we definitely had to like everybody help each other. Whatever wisdom you have, whatever I have, we need to share.
Yeah. That was a crazy time. And were you in a hospital at that time or were you working in a different kind of medical facility? as a
Yeah,
bedside
so
nurse?
within the hospital setting, I'm not in the hospital setting now. I finally took the plunge and said, all right, I'm going to leave it behind, even though I always kind of, have PRN positions here and there. And, I'll do an interview here and there because it's still like, oh, it's like calling me back. I don't ever want to like give it up. But now I am not full time in the hospital. I am full time teaching and tutoring.
Teaching and tutoring. So, um, it's so fun too. I'm thinking about this because having worked in the healthcare industry for a really long time, I've worked with a lot of doctors and MDs that become like chief medical officers, for, this is back like Aetna United, and many of them, still keep a shift, a month in the hospital because they want to stay out there like on the front lines and remember why they're doing this work and they don't get too far detached from it. So I imagine that you probably struggle with that a little bit too. It seems to be a common thread with a lot of clinicians. In fact,
And
I
you
think
you
Kat
got
McGraw said that yesterday with our interview with Guava Health, another
Really?
doctor.
you
It's
got to
keeping
stay current too,
repetition.
right? Like there's always changes in medicine, right?
Yeah.
Yes, because even like in the 5 years, I remember just my first 5 years, there were so many things that kind of evolved and changed in evidence-based practice. Even the way that we did CPR back when I started to now, before it was breaths, rescue breaths, give oxygen. Now
Hmm.
evidence-based practice says, no, it's circulation. You need to do compressions. That's what's going to save the person's life. Or when I went to school, we used to aspirate IM injections. So when you'd put the IM needle like into a muscle, you'd aspirate a little bit to check if there is blood. Now that's like, don't ever do that. That's not a thing. So there's so much that
Right.
changes
Huh.
constantly. So it feels almost like FOMO, like you want to keep up. You don't want to be
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah. Like what's going to happen tomorrow? You gotta
Yeah,
stay on top of your if
so many
especially if you want to
advances.
be the teacher training them to do the job, you got to know the changes in the job, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't plan to ask you this question, but as it goes here on the Uprising, we have very
We very
fluid.
much make it up as we go
We
along.
do. I could be as prepared as possible, but then I hear you say something and I'm like, but wait, hold on a minute. I have another question. So I'm thinking you're providing all this training and this education to nurses and this online environment through YouTube, through TikTok, and through your courses, like actual legitimate programs. How does that work for nurses who are going through their actual medical certifications wherever they are? Like, how does that, do they complement each other? Like, how does that actually function?
So a lot of the courses that I have a couple of them that supplement nursing school content. So every nursing school is organized a little bit differently, but it's all going to go over maternity, pediatrics, psych nursing. Everyone is going to touch on those topics. So what I provide is kind of like a supplemental, here's everything you're supposed to learn in that semester in a condensed form. This is how they're going to test you on it. So it's like anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, and then how we react as nurses to fix that. And we have pretty much the same guidelines and job responsibilities in the US, in Canada, in the Philippines, and the UK. We kind of all have like the same scope of practice of,
Mhm.
what we can do and how we can create a care plan and react to certain diagnoses. And then for the licensure in US and Canada, we have essentially the same exam that we have to take, kind of like how attorneys take the bar to
Mhm.
actually be able to practice. Same thing with nursing. You can't practice as a nurse unless you pass this big national test and get your license number. So I do a lot of training. I go and speak at nursing schools. I do one-on-one tutoring for that licensure exam.
Okay. Got it. So we've set the foundation. Okay, Nurse Meg is amazing and helps lots of nurses through education training. Now, obviously, most of the people, I would say, well, we kind of have a mixed bag of our audience, truthfully. We're very patient, kind of consumer focused. However, because I've worked in the industry for so long, I have a lot of like industry folks that listen just because they're like my great cheerleaders and friends and I love them. So we may have quite a few nurses listening, but for the purposes of this conversation, we want to elevate and talk about the power of the role of a nurse and why a nurse is so amazing. And I can say confidently because I have unfortunately been engaging with the healthcare system way more than I would like to in the last 6 months. But and I knew this before, but like nurses are amazing humans, okay? Like literally without nurses, I don't know how we couldn't have a healthcare system. And so the work that you're doing to prepare these nurses to be out there, you know, out there in the world is really important. But I want to talk about the why, right? Like, why is that? Why should we care? Anyone who's listening. And so, like, let's talk about that. When what are we relying on nurses for when we're hospitalized? What's happening when you're walking into your primary care audience or office or a specialty office, right? Because it's all different, right?
So I love this question because a lot of people, their understanding of healthcare is like Grey's Anatomy or like The Pit,
Right.
where there's like 30,000 doctors and there's like one nurse character. And I'm like, oh no, that's not real life.
Yeah.
Real life is when you're admitted to the hospital, there's a nurse with you 24 hours. That nurse is your primary everything. When you need a medication, if your heart stops, if you stop breathing, if you have a medical emergency, it is the nurse who's there 24 hours. If you're if you need CPR, it's going to be a nurse. There's going to be no doctors around. There's no doctors hanging out on the floor waiting, let me just do something. Let me ambulate the patient. Realistically, you'll see your doctor maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day when you're hospitalized. And that's kind of just normal. They have a whole list of 30 patients they have to see in one day. And they got to just like go room to room and then make orders and put things, virtually in a computer and make their notes. But the nurses are the main detectives. We run essentially every floor. The charge nurses will run the emergency room, every pediatric unit, CVICU. It's a nurse. It's a nurse
Hmm.
who is the charge nurse, the manager who's kind of running all of healthcare. And in my experience, especially in the last maybe decade, it's mostly firstborn daughters with ADHD or neurotypical who's running all of healthcare.
I have heard this multiple times that it's like this
That
natural role, right? That
God, it's
you
like
just
my
take
favorite
on.
statistic. I was teaching on a big nurse cruise. It was like a continuing education cruise.
Did you just like literally a cruise and a bunch of
Yeah,
nurses go on it?
yeah, yeah. It's
Shut the
called Nurse,
door.
like Comic-Con. It's called Nurse Con.
Stop it. That is so amazing.
A whole cruise ship full of nurses, and then the
Wow.
activities are
Love it.
fun and stuff, but the majority is just to get your seat
Safest
used.
cruise ever, by the way.
Yes, right? Yeah. But every time I would teach a class or speak, I'd be like, all right, raise your hand if you're a firstborn daughter who is neurotypical, ADHD, dyslexia, and it's almost everyone. It's my new favorite statistic.
that's
So everyone's
funny.
in good hands. That's who should be running.
As a younger brother, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
My
that's
sister is definitely the responsible one.
well, I'm the youngest of four. Now, albeit my older brother and sister from a different marriage, but I'm still the youngest. And I have been told so many times, like across my life, like I should have been a nurse because I am really good in like crazy chaotic high stress, like where everyone else is like falling apart. I'm like, we got this. We're gonna be fine. Everything's be fine.
Yeah, that's the
But
perfect.
so I totally have that passion and that energy. I should maybe in my end of my career,
She
maybe.
has the ADHD
I
part.
also have that part.
She just wasn't
Yeah.
born first.
You never know. I think
Yeah.
nursing is for everybody. Nursing, especially if you just get, your first 2-year degree, just get your RN, your license. It's 2 years.
Yeah.
That's it's 2 years and you get your license and you can start working. So I went to school with people who were like 21 years old and then people who were in their 60s where they're like, this is my third career. I want to try
That's
something.
really
Oh
cool.
wow.
Yeah. So it's not too late for me. I'm going to be 49.
There you
So,
go.
well,
Yeah.
when
The
and
whole
if
new approach to healthcare. You've done everything else. You may as well go do that.
might as well be bedside and I know where I'll go for my training.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty good.
Well, good. Yeah. So nurses are everywhere, do everything. And I have absolutely seen it. When my husband, he actually had a pretty traumatic injury, fell off a roof and was in the hospital for 6 days and had a couple of surgeries. And unfortunately, I think he's going to have a third one.
Yeah, that episode coming soon.
Yeah, it's been kind of a long road, but oh my God, we were in the hospital for 6 days and we had amazing nurses, female and male for the record. Some of his favorite nurses were the dudes, actually. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot more men. I mean, when I worked in Miami, oh, probably like 8 years ago or so, um, Miami's like so diverse, but there was more male nurses sometimes on the
Hmm.
floor. It was such an
Oh, like
interesting
more
ratio.
males than females.
There were more males than females on some
Wow.
shifts. And I was like, oh, this is such an interesting tip of the scale compared to like when I started nursing. And it was
Hmm.
great. I love it so much.
It's good to see that. Well, and I think, and this comes up on our show a lot too, because we bring on a lot of startup founders and there's a lot of physicians and doctors that are, starting these really cool companies. Um, and you hear a lot is that, and I'm sure you know this too, patients want to see themselves in the clinicians that are caring for them. And, whether that be gender, whether that be, uh, cultural, all the things, right? I think that's so important. So I love to see that the male nurse cohort is growing, and I can't stop thinking about Greg Fokker right now. For some reason, has gone into my
Uh,
head from
Ben
from
Stiller, you're talking.
yes, because he was a
I
male
know
nurse.
that's the male nurse
Oh
that
my
everybody thinks
goodness.
of. Yes.
He was the male nurse of a generation, and that was a absolutely hilarious
Forgot he
movie.
was a nurse. Yeah.
Well, and it was good about showing like how the importance of nurse. Like you don't have to be a doctor. Like that's not the only way to show up
Uh,
for
I mean,
patients.
doctors are for extreme specialized things.
Yeah,
Nurses are just there, like you said, giving you your medications, giving you your CPR if your heart starts going out, and
yeah,
like
really
Yeah.
important.
literally there to keep you alive
Yeah,
the whole time.
Yeah, literally.
Like to
They are
keep
like
you
your main
alive.
advocate. And I think a lot of people think of nursing as like somebody who like will bring you your water or, give you a bath. And there's so much that goes into nursing that has a lot of skill to it. They're
hmm
they're sticking needles in you. They are restarting your heart. The person who's pushing epi intravenously to restart your heart is a nurse.
hmm
People think that it's somebody else or there's a doctor going to give them their medication. It's the nurses who have that type of wisdom and intuition to be like, that person's going to code, get the code card. And when you stop breathing or your heart stops or you have an emergency, it's all nurses inside of that room saving your life.
yeah,
Sometimes a doctor comes in, maybe the intensivist will come in sometimes and help run the code, but it's a nurse running the code and initiating it and saving your life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That getting that IV in. Let me tell you,
Oh
got
yeah,
good
all that
ones.
needlework alone, man.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
Yeah.
it's my specialty. That is one thing that I was like, oh, this is like my thing. I love it. And people would call me from other floors and be like, can you get an IV in this person? They're super swollen or I can't visualize it. And then I'd walk in, the person would be like, no one can get my veins roll. I'm like, oh, I can get it. This
Uh-huh.
is you. That was like my one thing that I was like, I'm good at this.
When you were doing that, actually makes me think in the very beginning of our conversation, you had mentioned when you started doing the TikToks back in 2020 and you were showing people how to do IV lines and Foley's and all these things. How did you do that on video on TikTok? Like, were you doing
Perfect.
like
No,
how
no,
does
no.
that even? Yeah.
So I could do it in a sim lab, or I would show
Okay.
actual equipment and be like, hey,
Ah,
visualize this thing, turn on the light, come at it not from, a 90-degree angle, come at it this way, and then get it flush. Little tips like that that they could then
oh.
save and then watch it right before they walk in the room and then get
Uh-huh.
better
I'm
skill.
like, did you have like test subjects, like volunteer friends?
Yeah, I don't know what HIPAA would have to
Oh,
say
but
about
that,
putting it
that
on
would have been
TikTok.
really cool to be
That would have
like,
been.
start it on my friend. But no, I didn't have any friends volunteering to get stabbed at that
No.
time.
Yeah. People don't like that.
I'm actually a deep vein guy. Giving blood is kind of a hassle for me. So
Oh.
because they usually have to stick me again. But so I appreciate the skill of someone
Yeah,
like
it,
you
it
being
really
able
is
to
a skill
find
that
those
you got to
veins.
practice.
Yeah.
I've had a few where they've actually just got it right on there, and I'm like, wow, you're good.
Yes.
And so working in a hospital environment, obviously very different than being a nurse in, say, a primary care provider's office or an OBGYN or a cardiologist, et cetera. But there's the nursing, the education piece of it. And then there's the initial, right? You go through all of the different certifications. You throw out some acronyms that I don't even know. Um, and then I'm sure there's ongoing education. But the whole concept, this education, ongoing certifications, or whatever it is that you call it in your space, and please correct me. Why is that important for patient safety and outcomes? Like, why does that matter? Why should anyone listening to this care right now that a nurse is like very educated, gone through additional trainings and also follows Nurse Meg, by the way. P.S. Go follow Nurse Meg.
Go follow Nurse
There's so
Meg.
many things that are like extra. Like
Yeah.
if you're working in a doctor's office as a nurse, you're doing some initial assessments, like you're like getting their vitals, you're listening to lungs, you're kind of assessing the patient. When you work, let's say in cardiovascular ICU, there's all these extra certifications to use certain equipment, to work with critical patients. For example, if you have a witnessed cardiac arrest, we do something that is, we put them on an Arctic Sun machine and we do what's called a code cool. So for a certain period of time, we literally just put them like almost like freezing their body. Like we put them at a colder temperature. It's only after a witnessed cardiac arrest. We put them in this code cool. We literally, it's almost like dialysis where we cool their entire blood system
Whoa.
and it preserves any tissue that could have been damaged,
Hmm.
heart and brain tissue.
Okay.
So we
Whoa.
can't just, show up to work and be like, yeah, I can figure that out.
Yeah.
Like you need to be certified in all these special things for equipment and to take care of certain patients. Working pediatric ICU was not the same as working adults ICU or the ER. Pediatric ER, you see crazy things. And I
Mhm.
I trained for one day there and I was like, no, I don't think I'll ever come back. Thank you. No, I don't want to. Like starting an IV in a baby that's dehydrated, for example, less than
Ooh.
6 months, you're going to be putting it in their head, in their skull. That's the
Oh,
Ooh.
it's veins to get. So you'll usually have one nurse with a flashlight on one side, flashing through their little skull, their fontanelles that haven't closed, and then you go in and put the vein in. That's not something that you can just like learn in a day. There's all sorts of
no.
extra
Wow.
certifications that you get. Also, pediatric ER, you're going to see some abuse and some,
Mm,
other things you're going to have to get trained for.
hmm.
Um, a type of nurse that I haven't got the certification. One of my best friends did to complete like a rape kit when somebody collecting that material,
Mm,
filling out those types of legal forms that will be looked at by police or the courts or things like that. That is an extra special certification that you have to then be trained in and then actually be checked off nationally to be able to do that. So
hmm.
there's so much that goes into that one-on-one from a nurse. And sometimes somebody walks into your room and they're performing something or using a machine. They're really well trained and qualified to do that.
Yeah. And all the new technology, as you're saying this, because that's what we cover on the show so much is new technology that's showing up. And that's not just like apps, right? Like, and some of it is, right? Apps that we're using for managing our healthcare or a medical device, right? Or a blood test, whatever it is. But there's all this new stuff that you guys, depending on where you are in the hospital or what specialty that you're working in, like
Yeah,
all of
there's a
that.
I think the best new thing that has come out recently is those types of apps or websites that will audit your medical bill and help you to like find errors because there's always errors in billing or
Yes.
things that
Really?
insurance might miss that you could take, you ask for an itemized bill, give me the
Mm-hmm.
itemized everything for each day, and then you put it through a machine or put it through an app, and then they catch anything that was right or not right, and then they help you to refile a claim with your insurance. To me, that's like the best new invention, those
Huh.
apps.
Yeah, I probably need to use that. I have literally a pile of medical bills
Oh boy.
from my husband's surgeries, and even I had a couple of surgeries last year too. So, and I know just it's human error, right? And I even told him because he was freaking out. He's like, "You need to pay that bill." I go, "Trust me, they're going to send
Don't pay
another
it.
one, and it's going to be different." And lo and behold, it was. I go, and he's like, "Heather, you got to get pay the." I was like, "Just hold,
Don't
please
ever pay
pause."
it first time. I mean,
Never.
that's my advice is don't pay it immediately when it comes. Get it audited first, just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah, that's good advice. I mean,
So they sent you a bill, and then
Mhm.
without you doing anything, they sent you another bill, and it was different.
correct. Yeah, because they what they
The
do.
medical billing industry gets worse every time I learn something
Yeah.
about it.
Well,
It
these
gets worse every time I learn
it's
something.
the way things are coded, right? Like the CPT
Yeah,
codes, as they're called. Like sometimes they get them wrong, or I don't know. Insurance plays a huge role, and this comes up again on the show
Because they
all the
found out
time.
you were in the next room over, so everything costs
It's
different.
the insurance stuff change. There's so many things.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
muddy. It's so muddy.
so muddy, and it makes it hard for nurses and doctors, right? To deliver the level of and the quality of care that they want when they're having to think about these things, right? Like that shouldn't dictate how you
And this is why the
deliver
single
patient.
payer healthcare plan would be a fantastic idea.
Yes. We're
Us like nurses, we're so far removed from that, thankfully. Like if
That's
we're
good.
standing there and the patient's like, I want a gauze to wrap my, wound, or, the IV went bad and I go get another IV kit. We don't have to think about, does this patient have insurance? What will this get billed? We only are doing our best with all the supplies that we have. Now,
Okay.
maybe a physician who owns their own practice is going to be like, hey, don't overuse materials, or careful what I'm ordering. I don't want to just order tests that won't be covered. But thankfully, from a nursing perspective, I've never held back care or supplies or anything thinking, I don't even know if a patient has insurance or not. Like, like that's
Hmm.
not part of the chart that I ever look at.
Yeah, I guess yeah, and thank you for clarifying that and correcting me honestly. I've run into it. I literally this happened to me on Monday. I was sitting in my husband's orthopedic clinic because hardware broke in his leg from his accident and we had to go back to have x-rays done and I'm speaking with his
Oof.
doctor and I said, "Listen, here's the deal. My insurance through my employer is running out on March 31st because I just got laid off. So like I have a full-time job. Um, and I'm like, he might be having a third surgery. I go, this is a really big issue. I go, we're up against the clock here because what happens come April 1st if I don't have coverage or good enough coverage? And he's like, well, first I'll make sure that you get the surgery. So in that case, like we were talking about the impacts of insurance. So I think that might be in a different just so it happens, but in specific environments or circumstances, I guess.
Especially
Um,
with fees and having to do with equipment.
yeah.
Like if an ortho doctor is putting in like a prosthetic hip, or
Hmm.
if there's anesthesia involved, there's a lot of pre-authorization that has to be
So
done.
many.
They can do it.
Yes.
I don't have to get permission to like get out a Foley kit before I can,
Yeah.
on my side. But yeah, with that type of, a lot of providers can't even do a certain procedure or surgery without insurance saying, okay, fine, you're allowed to do it.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
though the physician is the one with the wisdom and
Hmm.
all of the knowledge to say that person needs it. Insurance still is like, well, prove it to me. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
listen to the person with the medical degree
You would think.
that
You
they
would
need
think.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, because you mentioned the audit, that audit app or audit technology, he actually mentioned it. He even said that to me on Monday when I was sitting there. He's like, you know what you need to do? He's like, with all these bills, he's like, you got to make sure you use one of those audit services. He's like, because I'm sure they have it wrong.
I'm
And this
sure
was
they
for
do.
like,
That sounds like an episode.
this is like exactly like
Get one of
for
those people
the
on.
surgeries that he did, through our hospital. So, it's kind of funny. Even he was like looking out for me, but
Good. Good. I
yeah,
like that doctor. That's a good
he's amazing.
doctor.
Yeah, he was actually the ER trauma doc that was on um when my husband went in and he insisted on being his doctor because it was such a horrible case. He was like, I need to see this one through. So he's like super invested. So,
We tend to have really good people in Flagstaff,
Good. That sounds like,
just generally.
yeah.
what's the, oh man, now I'm gonna forget his name. The doctor from the pit,
Noah
Dr.
Weil,
Robbie.
Dr.
Yes,
Robbie.
yes. Where he's like
Yeah.
the doctor, but then like wants to take care of you later. Yeah. That
Oh
sounds like
yeah.
a
I think about the pit often. So
yeah. You watch it?
I do. I watch it religiously. I love that show. And without making a spoiler, when you were talking about the nurses and the rape kit and the like that whole situation, like I learned so much about that just in that show, about like the whole like situation around that, which is
Yeah. It's a
heavy.
whole
That's
process.
heavy.
It is something that has to be handled so delicately.
Yes.
So many steps that you cannot miss for the benefit of the victim. Because
Hmm.
if things are not done properly or in the right order, a lot of stuff can't be admissible in court or can't be processed as evidence. So you really have to be super duper careful. Or if you, there was one, I was just talking to my friend, she works PDR in Orlando, and she had a little, oh, I think it was like less than 2 years old, so a baby who broke their femur.
Oh.
And
Mm.
she was like, how did this little baby
Mm.
break her femur? Like, this is kind of suspicious. They're not really like walking that much. And so because she suspected, maybe some neglect or abuse, she couldn't leave the baby with the patients in the room. As soon as she suspected it, it's like a rule. You can't just go leave the room and get your charge nurse. You can't leave that baby in dangerous hands.
Oh,
Oh,
what do
So
you
she was
do?
like, you don't leave the room. So then you call for help. Like you
Okay.
call the secretary, go get so and so, get the social worker. Like you can't leave the room in that moment.
Mm.
wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So much extra responsibility on top of the medical stuff that comes
Yeah.
with it too. And
Yeah,
not
like on
only do
top of
nurses have
like
to do
the
all that stuff, but they then have to do all this other stuff that comes comes with. You got to
that
be a
comes with
forensic
like
scientist.
caring for a human. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like parenting is more than just like keeping the thing alive. Like I can feed and
Yeah.
water my child, but that's not parenting. Like there's so much other like psychosocial stuff that goes into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, healthcare is human care. I try to say that as often as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not like this heartless business, like we're not selling a product. It's just, it
Right.
really bothered me in the NCLEX and in nursing school when they changed the wording of patient to client. So now
Oh, really?
textbooks,
Mm.
yeah, nursing school textbooks, exams, and on the national licensure, you're not going to see the word patient. You'll see the word client.
What
And it just
client?
feels
Client.
Why?
Because it
so
monetizes the
dehumanizing.
transaction.
And because there's a lot of like customer service scores and things that hospitals now have, H cups and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. We need to provide, good care and good customer service, but it kind of takes away that it like dehumanizes a patient a
Mm.
little bit. See them
Yeah.
as like a customer client. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big problem with some doctors, right? Is that they start looking at their patients like they're a machine that they need to fix, like a mechanic looks at a car. And they don't have, they kind of
Oh,
lose that human aspect to their whole interactions with their patients.
that's a great
It's one,
example.
yeah, I forget where I got it, but I saw something about that's how doctors get sued. Doctors
Mm.
who actually get malpractice suits against them, it's usually because they literally just don't know how to communicate right with their patients, and they don't treat their patients like humans. They treat them like machines, and it puts the patient off. And then if something goes wrong, they're like, "This doctor sucks. I'm suing him." But if the
Mm.
doctor is human with them, and something goes wrong, they're like, "Oh, well, he did his best." You know what I mean? Like it's that mental
Yes.
dynamic. The way the doctor approaches the patient has
Mm-hmm.
so much to do with the patient outcomes in so many cases, I would think.
Yeah.
I
Jeremy, you're
agree.
almost
And you're like
becoming a
a nurse.
pro. Sorry.
Uh,
He didn't know he didn't
starting this
know
podcast changed my reading list quite a bit.
he didn't know anything about healthcare before I got him involved in this. I hear him say stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, wow. I'm so
You've
I
impressed.
read
absorbed
a
so
lot.
much.
I read a lot.
Wow. So like
I've
you
never
went
seen
from
The
like
Pit because I
paranormal
read a lot.
stuff to healthcare
Yeah.
stuff. I
Oh yeah,
love
I'm all over the place. I'm kind of a modern day Renaissance man in a way.
it. Just like jack of all trades, just
He
like
is.
Yeah,
knows so much. That's so
always
great.
learning new things.
Talking about patient outcomes, one of the things we absolutely have to talk about, and I'm sure that you see this because you deal with a lot of nurses. This whole nursing shortage, and we have like a shortage in like PCPs as well, that's a whole nother separate issue. But this whole nursing shortage, we've got burnout, we've got a lot of people that have left the profession. You even said that earlier on. What are you seeing? Like, what's really happening? Is there a nursing? Is it starting to come up again? Like, because we need nurses.
Yeah,
The question
I
is so
agree.
complex because when you say there's a nursing shortage, it makes it seem like there's not enough nurses.
Right.
There are enough nursing licenses. That doesn't mean that your people are staying,
Hmm.
and then B, that they're actually hiring staff. So there's a lot of factors that go into that where the hospitals could pay the nurses well and could hire more staff, but they choose not to. They choose to cut the
Wow.
corner and save money and say, well, we could stretch our ICU nurses to 3 patients, which if you've ever had somebody in ICU, especially a complex patient where they have, 6 drips on a
Yeah.
vent, so many things happening, you can't have 3 of those and give your full attention and best care possible. But the
Mm-hmm.
hospital will try to stretch you to 3 and be like, listen, we're short staffed. Well, you could hire more staff. You can try to retain the staff that you have so that they don't leave. There is a statistic, and this was pre-COVID that they did this statistic, that the majority of RNs will leave their profession, leave bedside within their first 5 years.
Wow.
40% will leave in
Wow.
the 5 years. That's crazy. Now there is 250,000 new nurses graduating LPN and RN every year. So
Okay.
we do have people coming in and people getting licenses. You
Mm-hmm.
need to get those people to stay beyond 5 years. You
Okay.
need to
And
create an
why are they not staying? What is that the burnout? Is that I'm getting too many patients assigned to me situation where I can't like I can't do it
yeah,
anymore.
I mean, to say it in a very, I'm not trying to make it flowery. I'm just going to say it. The environment
Yeah.
is abusive.
Okay.
The
Yep.
patients are at their worst, and they sometimes will take it out on whoever is next to them constantly, which is the
The
nurse.
nurse. Yeah.
But because we're so worried about the customer is always right, upper management will not back you up and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you can talk to my nurses that way. Oh, we got, now we have concepts of like VIP patients. You donate it to the hospital, you get to have 2 rooms and you're going to have 3 nurses, and it's very customer focused now. Also, the fact that we are short staffed, we have more work to do. We have more patients. We don't have as much ancillary staff because that's what they cut first when they're over budget. No secretary. We have to answer the phones. No tech to help with bathing, changing the beds, walking them around, getting anything they need. So when we lose the ancillary staff, we have more patients. It's more work for the same amount of money. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
why? How long can I endure this abuse with my passion of helping people? Everybody reaches their breaking point and then
Mm-hmm.
they leave and then they just hire somebody new to abuse. And it's this cycle of, hey, if you just staff your hospital properly, which means maybe your CEO won't get that $5 million bonus.
Yeah.
So
You
sad.
could
Don't buy
probably
a
do
yacht.
without it.
Yeah, safely staff your hospital. Then people want to stay. Then you create an atmosphere of like, hey, we appreciate you
Mm-hmm.
and we'll maybe give bonuses at Christmas, or we'll pay you to take an extra shift or something like that. Instead of post-COVID, they tried to cap the floating or bonuses or travel nurse pay instead of being like, yeah, we'll pay you extra. Then they tried to pass a lot of cap it, which is crazy to
Wow.
me. There's no cap
Oh.
on like CEO bonuses, but they were trying to put a cap on nursing bonuses and travel
Wow.
nurses. So if you change the way that you treat nurses, there's never going to be a shortage. There's plenty of us. There's plenty of licenses
Mm-hmm.
wanting to work, but people will only tolerate abuse for so long.
Yeah.
This is also another example of why the single payer healthcare system would be a good idea.
Yeah. I come up with a lot of
I like
reasons
to
why.
drop that in whenever it comes around.
Has
You
this
too.
always been a problem though? Like you've been doing this for a while, or has it gotten worse since, say, COVID or even before that?
I don't think it's gotten worse, but because of the way that the government really tried to help hospitals around COVID, which was great. It was like, hey, we're going to create a fund just for like disaster relief COVID pay, where you can, get nurses who are willing to work in the COVID units. We'll pay them more. And if you, need more money to care for these patients, whoever tests positive for COVID, okay, you have 20 people, we're going to give you more money. And the government really tried to say, hey, we're going to help hospitals. But a lot of that money didn't go to the staff that was taking care of those patients. Profits just rose. And I mean, you can look it up, but you can see it in a lot of these hospitals.
Mm,
It was so overrun with patients, and it was their most profitable years, but the staff pay didn't change whatsoever.
yeah.
So you're,
Yeah.
what?
We have a real big greed problem in this country,
Mm.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
and it is everywhere.
And I don't know if the right thing to do is go like in the opposite direction. Like my parents are born in Cuba, where it's, like a communist environment. And I have, doctors and family members who are still in Cuba, and everything is just even, that's like the opposite of greed is,
Mhm.
everybody makes the same and everybody is equal, but there's somewhere in the middle where businesses can still run and be profitable, and you
Mhm.
can still have like this equitable care and pay to people who are helping the business stay alive.
Yeah, and the people for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The clients.
yeah, it's going to benefit the client for sure. Like if your
I'm gonna
nurse is
start referring to myself as a client now.
as a
Right. And like
client,
how many patients can that one CEO $5 million bonus take care of in a year?
oh my
Yeah.
God,
How
imagine
many
your
people can
nurse
you help by taking
has
that little
like,
bit away from one?
yeah,
Someone who already
imagine
has
your nurse
everything they need.
and wants to take care and actually has like the mental capacity to be like, I'm all in. What do you need? And I'm going to catch any little like weird cough you make and make sure that you don't have any complications in the hospital and you're going to get the best care. And it's going to be reflected all the way down to the patient. You're not going to have hospital acquired infections or bed sores or, bad patient outcomes. It's going to benefit everybody.
Um, I want to get to the scary story stuff because we need to satisfy Jeremy's desires over here.
Well, for the listener, yeah. I mean, if you want to, do you want to?
No, no, I have a question. Hold
Okay,
on, one
I'll
thing.
go next.
So, travel nurses, travel doctors for that matter, right? Like that's been something that's grown quite a bit. You've got a lot of locums companies that have come up on in the market, so to speak, over the last, I think since COVID too. I know a lot of people who have gotten into travel nursing. There seems to be a a bad rap on travel nurses. I hear this. So I learned this when I was at the hospital with my husband. There are some travel nurses. By the way, I'm like they're just as amazing as the nurses that have been there. I saw absolutely no difference in the level of care that was provided, their attitude, whatever. And in fact, they felt really happy to be there, right? Because they were in a place probably they could live in for 6 months because they have that kind of flexibility, and that's so cool. And they give them a lot of money. What is your feelings on travel nurses and in terms of how they show up in a hospital, particularly in kind of that patient care delivery and all that?
I think that the travel nurses that I worked with, especially in Miami, were so skilled. The ones that
Hmm.
I worked with were so experienced. They spoke multiple languages. They had been all over the country. They've been in, PCU, ICU, med surg with tele. They knew so much. And they were also the ones that never ran from the code. Like if
Uh,
they learn a code, they're like, I'm there. Like they were so willing to help. And there was also something where, like they knew when it was going to end. So even if it wasn't like their best assignment, they're like, I'll be gone in 6 weeks. Like,
hmm.
they had such a good like attitude about it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just heard that like, travel nurse, so many travel nurses. I'm like, why do you think that they're any less qualified to be there?
I
Like they go through
don't
the
think less
same
qualified,
certifications.
but I know people in management would rather not hire travel nurses
Hmm.
because it's more expensive.
Well, yeah.
It's way more expensive.
Stipends and all for
That's
living and all that.
the only negative thing that I've heard, maybe from upper
The
management or
cost.
like, oh man, like, yeah, we gotta call
Yeah.
someone in and it's going to cost more money. But working with a travel nurse, I mean, I've never worked with somebody where I was like, oh my God, they're so underqualified to be here.
Right.
Not,
Yeah.
not one-
And I think it's more people like clients. Sorry, I'm gonna have fun with that one now. Um, no, patients. Jerry's like, oh shoot. Here she goes. With patients though, like I've heard that from other people that I've talked to, they're like, oh, well, there's a lot of travel nurses there. And I'm like, why do you think that's bad? It's not. Trust me. Trust me because I
Well,
know.
I will say if there's too many travel nurses in a facility, I would question why can't you keep your staff? Like, what's going on?
Correct. There's that.
That,
That is a
It's more about the facility than it is about the nurse.
that is a totally different
yeah,
scenario,
yeah,
which P.S. I have heard that to be a situation at a hospital near us. So,
Oh boy.
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that
But I was thinking I seem to see a lot of travel nurses around here.
well, we have a problem here in Flagstaff of cost of living,
Um,
and it is very difficult. This is teachers,
We
firefighters,
we
you
are
name it.
we are the most expensive city to live in Arizona.
Yes. We
We're higher than North Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and all
So
that.
that's a problem for recruitment and then
yeah.
also keeping people here, right? Because eventually they're like priced out. And it's really sad to hear like nurses or teachers or people that have grown up here, right? Have like lived here for, generations, and they're moving away to Phoenix because they can no longer afford to be here. And so, and I can't speak on behalf of the hospital here, but I know that is a huge factor. It's a huge factor in them just recruiting new doctors and nurses to be full time because they
Yeah.
just simply can't afford to live here. And that's a
Maybe if they
massive
paid
housing
them more,
problem here.
they could pay them more.
So they could.
Pay them more.
Yeah, that's really
Pay them.
because also travel nursing, if I think there's a certain amount of miles from your permanent address that you can go. So if you're willing to drive like an hour, hour and a half to work, that's still a travel assignment. So maybe
Mm,
people come from outside to Flagship and they're like, all right, I'm a travel assignment, but I live like on the next town over
I
because
guess
I can
that's true.
afford to live there.
yeah. Yeah. I hadn't
We are
thought about
pretty
it that way.
spread out. We are very rural here. There may be people coming from Kingman, which is an hour and a half away.
We are. Yeah. People do drive from like an hour, well, down like Camp Verde, which is about an hour and 15, like Sedona. Well, Sedona's even more expensive than here. So,
No,
but
not
yeah.
anymore.
Oh, okay. Maybe not.
Yeah, Flagstaff's the champ now.
Yeah. We win for unaffordability. Yay.
Expensive to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rough. Well, I get that. I wanted to make sure I touched on the travel nurse thing just because
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of clear the air on that one. So,
I
um,
love nursing.
yeah, patients, don't worry. You're in good hands. So don't worry about it when you see that
A
travel
lot.
nurse thing.
Worked in all different systems. They've seen every,
Yeah,
EMR, like they've seen every IV kit that exists. They know how to work every IV pump that's ever been invented. You're
right.
good.
Is is that something a new nurse can get into, or do you have to have kind of that resume built before you can become a traveling nurse?
Oh, I've never seen a travel listing for less than 3 years. Maybe
Okay.
three
Okay.
years, lowest I've ever seen. Typically
Mhm.
5. Yeah, I've never seen anybody hired a brand new nurse out of school for travel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
yet. Haven't seen
Oh,
that.
then there you go. They're guaranteed experienced then.
There you are. Well, Jeremy, I'm gonna let you steal the show now so you can get your kick
Well,
here on the
it's the origin story is what it
it
is.
is. Please share that too. I think it's
Because
kind of a good way to set this one up.
the whole way, some people listening will already know this, but if you're new to the Uprising, Heather and I have known each other for forever. But our podcast uh, career together, as it were, started. My first podcast that I started to get into it to learn how to produce is a paranormal podcast. It's called Monster Lore Tour. Heather is actually featured in episode 10.
I
It's one of the
am.
first interview episodes we ever did.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's from that the Uprising was really born.
That's
Make,
right.
make a long story short.
Cool.
But it's because of my other podcast that we even know Nurse Meg, because it was through my paranormal searchings on YouTube that I came across her, because you have a whole series of weird, creepy, scary stories that have happened to you in hospitals, uh, which I'm a huge fan. I've listened to like all of them. They're great. Um, do you have any that like particularly stand out to you? Like maybe one or two that
Yeah,
really are
I mean,
like stuck in your
no
brain?
offense. So the paranormal has always been like close to me since I was a kid. There's always been like unexplained things. Maybe it's in my bloodline. I don't know, but always since I was a kid. And, as I started working in night shift and being in extra haunted places like hospitals, unexplained things started to happen. And I never wrote them down or anything, but I saw somebody share on TikTok probably in 2021 or 2022. They shared a ghost story and then I stitched it and I was like, oh, something like that happened to me. And it started to get a little bit of traction. I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell another story. And then I started to realize, oh my gosh, I have so many weird things that would happen. And sometimes you're so busy at work that you're like, that was weird. We just saw a ghost. Moving on. Like we were just like, whatever.
Wow.
And there
Like
was
two
one that
people saw a ghost at the same time?
absolutely, yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Multiple patients would report a lady in a long dress coming into their room, or a kid with an ice cream cone came into my room. There were 3 patients on one night that said that. Different rooms.
Way.
And I'm already getting goosebumps.
Ah, you are. I could see those through the camera.
Yeah. But there's this one
That's
time
wild.
that we were we were at capacity. So ER is full, upstairs is full, and we're just like, who can we discharge in the middle of the night? Like we need to move patients. We're already diverting patients to other hospitals. And I had discharged a patient, and then we were going to go get a bed for my empty room because I already had an admission waiting. So me and this nurse, this CNA, we go to another building to get this bed that was in the supply room in the middle of the night. Half the lights are off. We brought the sheets with us. We make the bed, and we're going across this long hallway that connects two buildings in this hospital. And as we're like almost to the middle-ish of the hallway, all the lights turn off
Oh
and then they
no.
flash back on. And then the CNA that I was with screams. There's a footprint in the middle of the bed, a man's footprint in the
I
middle
just
of
got full body. Oh my God. I have like full body
the
chills right now. Sorry.
bed.
Whoa.
It's like
Wow.
so freaky that we were like,
I literally I have goosebumps from like my ankles all the way to my neck right now.
Yeah, I got tingly. Even I got
yes.
tingly, and I host a
Wow.
paranormal podcast. That was pretty good.
But then we were so busy
I'd
that
scream.
we're like, oh my God, I never went back into that hallway the entire time that I worked at that hospital ever again. But we were in such a rush. We just go back to the floor, we smooth out the bed. Next patient came and we just moved on. But I took a picture of it in that moment. And
Did
that
you
was one of the,
really?
I did. And that was one
Oh,
of the stories I told on haunted hospitals on the Travel Channel a couple years ago.
you were
Oh,
on
good.
a show?
Yeah, on haunted hospitals.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to like find the link or something and put it in the show
Yeah,
Great.
notes.
yes.
That's so cool.
That's great.
Oh
Yeah.
my
But there's,
gosh. Oh,
I feel like
fun
every haunted
fact, really
story.
quick, Nurse Meg, before I forget this. I was on a show on the Travel Channel once also. Just
No good.
so random that we were both on a show on the Travel
Oh,
Channel and had our 20
that's
minutes
actually
of
that's
fame.
actually
That's
really random.
amazing. Oh, that's my
Really
favorite
random.
channel.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I want to say it was 2014
Oh, that
because
was
I had
like
just had my son. Yeah.
that's like when Samantha Brown and Anthony Bourdain and all those fun shows were on, early
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
I
with
miss that.
I won't go into the details of it, but it was like where they yeah, oh God, I'm forgetting his name right now. But anyway, I was on it. It was for the Grand Canyon. So,
Oh, really?
Wow.
yeah, the
So
history of the
cool.
Grand Canyon. So,
I
yeah.
do have a follow-up
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
to
keep
the
going. Sorry.
paranormal stuff. Um, I mean, you worked as a nurse for a long time. You have a lot of those stories on YouTube. How common was it for weird things like that to happen? Like, it, did it become common enough that it just kind of rolled off, or was it
Yeah, I mean, especially
sporadic?
when you're
Or
at work and busy, things happen and you almost brush it off, or you're
is it
like, I
like
don't
all
even.
the time though? Like, is it on a very regular
Yeah,
basis that
I
things
mean,
like
at
that are
least once
happening?
there'd be a call bell
Once a
going off that
week?
doesn't make sense. Yeah, or
Wow.
Okay.
when I worked in like an older hospital or the older building of that hospital, sometimes it would look like people's heads were like floating. Like you go down a long hallway and it's like middle of the night, so half the lights are on and off, and it would look like someone's head was kind of moving across. And I guess it was because the hospital that building had been built over so many times and floors changed that maybe it was like a ghost head floating of where they would have been in the past,
Right.
like
They were walking
energy
on the old floor.
stuck
I
there.
know
I
a
don't
lot of
know.
ghost stories like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're in the old building. Yeah,
So many
Yeah.
souls captured
it's
and
wild.
caught in hospitals, I
Once
guess.
a week. That's
Trapped, maybe.
yeah. Well, I
Yes.
mean, because
Like
it's
a door closing by itself, a call bell going off, ghosts love technology.
yeah. Oh, and the energy of the whole thing. When
Yeah.
if you're really into the whole paranormal side, it's all energetic in the
True.
end. And the energies in a
It's like the
hospital, you,
perfect
you combine
recipe.
the physical energies with all those tech energies, and I mean the
Yeah.
magnetic fields you're creating with CAT scans and MRIs and stuff.
Oh,
Like there's so many
Yeah.
factors that could go into this that yeah, hospitals are a crazy
Yeah.
place.
We talk about
Like
that all the time because all of those types of machines, the CAT scans and the MRIs, they're always on the first floor. So
mhm.
there's something about that energy rising inside of a trapped building where, now the windows don't open because of, suicide and stuff like that. So the hospital windows don't open. You're trapping that energy. There's people being born and people dying constantly in
Mm.
this
mhm,
like trapped space. It's like, and then
right.
also a combination of people who don't believe, who are so like, oh, I'm science, I don't believe in that. And
Hmm.
you're just like waiting, you're just like inviting to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
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 That's a great
Ah.
little
We
like
we
combined
I might have to
energies.
get Meg on the Monster Lore tour. I'm going to poke at you about that after
I
this.
yes.
That would be fun.
And tell all the stories all at once.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And I have to say too, like and you had said like you had always been like kind of the spiritual side of things. That kind of paranormal has always been something really close to you since you were a kid. Me too, right? Like many people in my family. And I do feel like you either are like open to those things and so therefore spirits and the other side and these other energies know that you're like a safe space, more or less, right? Like you're approachable. Like I feel like there's that understanding. And I know I'm totally weirding out right now, but I'm like half witch, so
Thing. It's a thing. Wait, look at your thumbs. This is
hmm.
a really weird thing. This is so off topic, but okay. Look at your thumbs. In
Okay.
between like your thumbprint and the rest of your thumb, there's typically some lines where you bend your thumb. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if the lines are perfectly straight, you probably don't have any like witches in your bloodline, but if it looks like an eye on one of your thumbs,
Mm-hmm.
then you probably have that type of stuff in your bloodline. Like it
Mine
looks
both look like eyes.
you have
Same.
them both? You have them both? It's very rare to have both. That is so interesting. Me and my sister have
My
both.
left.
It
So
explains
is
my
that your
wizardry.
dominant?
I am right. I'm ambidextrous. I was left-handed until I started writing, so I still do a lot of things left-handed.
So
My
interesting.
left
Yeah,
hand is
we
more of an
are.
eye than my right, but we
Same.
definitely both have that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely a wizard, so we're
I get
just
it
yeah,
from my mom.
it's
we're
in your
just
bloodline. That's so cool.
My
Ask
mom's
her.
my
It's
mom's a
legit
Reiki healer.
true.
My mom was started as a physical therapist and worked her way up into other things. She became a full-on Reiki healer. Like she can heal you from across the room. She doesn't even have to touch you to
yeah.
affect your
Wow,
energies.
Isn't that crazy?
that's
Reiki's so
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, we're gonna go down rabbit holes here. Do you know you can do Reiki on a building? We learned that with
Mm,
Catherine Romero. She's a
yeah.
clinical psychologist in training, and we're just like, but she also like brings like Eastern and Western medicine together. And she
Um,
was talking, she does Reiki, and she's like, "Do you know you can do Reiki on a building because the building was originally
It has
built
its own
from
energy.
some kind of natural." I had never thought about that before.
Like the
Anyway,
wood that they used and
I
the
don't know where
metal
this
that they
conversation
used.
just went.
this is so
It's
great.
just
I love
harmonizing energies. Reiki is just all about
Yeah.
harmonizing local energies. So it's you can literally kind of do it to anything
It's cool.
if you really look at
I'm
it
into
right.
it. I like it. Anyway, let's I think we need to start wrapping this up. I covered everything I wanted to cover,
Oh
but
yeah.
one thing I would do
That
want to
went by
ask,
fast.
I know, this is a great combo. Before I let you go though, we talk a lot about advocacy on the show, both for yourself, but knowing like how nurses are often put in these kind of really challenging situations. If anyone listening right now, patients or clients, um, I see you as
Oh, it's gonna
patients.
burn me every
I
time.
know it is. I'm saying it now to be sarcastic, but
Oh, I know.
what would you tell people like how to advocate for themselves and also to advocate and support the nurses that are caring for them, knowing that nurses are with you probably 95% of the time. What would you tell people so we can leave everyone with a very good PSA?
advocating for yourself, really understand your own diagnosis and your own options. Don't 100% rely on your provider for information and don't always just, blindly do what they say. Do a lot of research, get a lot of opinions, and then sometimes you have to come with a plan to your provider and say, okay, I researched this. Surgery is a possibility for this benign tumor on my optic nerve, but I've also seen this. I want to try both options. Sometimes coming to the provider with a plan and not just sitting in front of a white coat and be like, tell me what to do.
Hmm.
Researching your own diagnosis is super duper important. And there's so many tools now where you can literally put in your radiology scan and your labs into like AI and your symptoms, and it can kind of help you with all your options. And then
Yeah.
for nurses, please give us grace. Like we're really not sitting at the nurse's station, eating chocolate, scrolling on TikTok, not wanting to see you. I saw a video, a reel of this lady complaining in the hospital. She had a kid who was walking, talking, breathing, And she's like, we've been in this room for 30 minutes and no one's come to see us in 30 minutes and just like complaining. And I can see the code blue button through the door going off, which means there's probably a child dying in the other room. And she's complaining that her kid didn't get a popsicle that she had asked for, and she doesn't understand why it's taking 30 minutes. Please give your nurses grace and understand that if you're breathing and stable and you're okay, there might be something happening in the other room that is destroying us forever
Mm-hmm.
and is going to be the most horrific thing we've ever seen. And when we come back into your room and, you had to wait an extra 15 minutes for that pillow you asked me for, please give us grace and
Mm-hmm.
understand that it's not the easiest job in the world.
Yeah, it's constant triage. Yeah, you got to take care of the most important first all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good message. I've seen, it makes me sad when I see these posters that are in doctor's office that say like don't assault providers. I mean, it just breaks my heart that that is a thing. And if you watch The Pit, like they very realistically show like a very broad range of examples of what that looks like, from verbal to physical to like, you know what I mean? So anyway, everyone should watch The Pit. P.S.
Yeah.
Be nice to the people who are trying to help you.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
That's
We
just
really try.
something you should use in life. Just always be nice to people who are trying to help you.
Have patience. Have patience.
Not clients, patients.
Yes, that's right. But I'm bummed. We'll be here all night.
I had to get one in before we were done.
Way to go. With that, Nurse Meg, tell us how we can find you online, benefit from your education, your curriculum, all the things that any nurses that we have and that I know I'm certainly going to be sending them your way. But yeah, and we'll put all of it in the show notes too. But what platforms are you on?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and the tag is at Nurse Meg RN. And then my website, where you can find all of my courses, tutoring, and my free resources, is nursemegrn.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been such a fun and different conversation. I love it. And we love nurses so much. So I do.
Yeah, I'm really glad we did a full-on nurse episode.
Yeah.
No one better than Nurse Meg to represent. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah. We are not worthy.
Thank you so much, guys. I really loved
Yeah.
this.
Thanks for joining us on the Healthcare Uprising. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go, and take a moment to think of a friend and hit that share button. You can find us on all the major audio platforms, and we've got video on YouTube if you want to watch us in action.
You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Just search Healthcare Uprising to find us. And if you're a new company with a cool new product, if you're someone innovating alternative methods for the health and wellness space, or if you have a personal healthcare journey you'd like to share with us here at The Uprising, please email us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you about coming on the show. Well, that's all for this dose of Healthcare Uprising. Until the next time, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
We are not doctors and we don't play one on TV. If you need medical advice, consult with your physician or a healthcare professional. This has been a Shut Up production.